the Jews will settle the entire biblical land of Israel, from the Nile to the Euphrates. It will encompass not only Gaza, Yehuda, and Shomron, but also the entire Lebanon, parts of Turkey, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt. The Talmud in Shabbat 32b says that when Mashiach comes, every Jew will have 2,800 non-Jewish servants. This is based on a verse in Zechariah chapter 8, verse 23.
Eventually, our borders will extend from Lebanon, the Great Desert, which is Saudi Arabia, and then from the Mediterranean to the Euphrates. And who's on the other side of the Euphrates? The Kurds. And the Kurds are our friends. So we have the Mediterranean behind us, the Kurds in front of us, Lebanon, which really needs the umbrella of protection of Israel. And then we're going to take, I believe we're going to take Mecca, Medina, and Mount Sinai and purify those places.
This is not your homeland. It's the Jewish homeland. And like one day, it's all going to be ours. And the Arabs know that.
So your dream is an Israel stretching from the Euphrates to the Nile?
So it's not my dream. It's a prophet that we got, like from Abraham. I believe that Abraham is my great-great-grandfather. So this is a part of whatever's, like, at the end it's going to happen.
So the mission is to expand Israel from what it is today?
Also, yes.
To expand into Syria, into Egypt.
Exactly.
Are you excited about these plans?
I'm very excited.
But this entails that you would have to take over countries that already exist.
Right.
So we're talking about half of Iraq, we're talking about Syria, we're talking about parts of Lebanon, Jordan, Egypt.
Yeah.
How is that going to happen? There are people living in these countries. What's going to happen to them?
It's a great question. Like, I don't know. I know it's going to happen. Like, once the Turkeys were here, and then the British were here, and now we're here.
So when Israel was established over 70 years ago, there were people here, the Palestinians. They had been living here for centuries. How do you feel about the Palestinians as a people?
I don't know them personally.
You don't know any Palestinian?
No.
Personally. So how do you feel about them as a people?
Like if he has his pride that this is his homeland, so I don't respect him. Like I won't spit on him and I won't do anything, yes? Just like, and my feeling is like, this is not your homeland. It's the Jewish homeland. And like one day it's all going to be ours. And the Arabs know that. They also have the Bible. I don't know why they're so, like, they also have the Bible and they all know how it's going to finish.
מה אנחנו עושים כאן? אנחנו כאן בשליחות של דורות. יש דורות של יהודים שחלמו שנגיע לכאן, ויש דורות של יהודים שיבואו אחרינו. אז אתה שואל אם אני מרגיש שאני בשליחות היסטורית ורוחנית, התשובה היא כן.
אני לא רוצה לסבך אותך לסיום עם תיק 6000, אבל...
מה זה?
זה הוויז'ן שלי, זה אחד הדברים שחלמתי עליהם, מפת הארץ המובטחת.
יפה.
הגיע הזמן, קוראים לזה ירושלם. אני לא נותן את זה לך, אני מעניק את זה לך כדי שתיתן את זה לרעתך שרה.
תודה רבה.
אתה מתחבר לחזון?
מאוד.
באמת?
מאוד.
בישראל השלמה.
This is the Greater Israel Project. Okay, this is what Yahweh promised to Abraham in the Bible. As you can see, it's pretty huge. It's the entire Middle East. It extends from the Nile to the Euphrates in Iraq. Okay, it's a huge area. And if you say the Israelites are, sorry, the Israelis want to achieve the Greater Israel Project, they call you a conspiracy theorist. Like, we don't want that, okay? But explain two things to me. First of all, why is the Greater Israel map on a sharon of an IDF soldier, okay? These are soldiers, Israeli soldiers, and they wear the insignia of the Greater Israel Project, okay? This is the map. Also, if you look at the flag of Israel, there are two blue lines, right? These represent rivers, the Nile and the Euphrates, right? So if it's a conspiracy theory, then how do you explain these two things? All right, but I want to argue you know what? Pax Judaica, it's not about Israel or the Greater Israel Project. What it is ultimately is an alliance of transnational capital, multinationals like Google and Meta, and intelligence agencies that will be based in Jerusalem, okay? So secret societies will be based in Jerusalem, and they will use it as a headquarters for their global conspiracy. But, and they will profit from chaos and conflict around the world because they think that this is the culmination of the prophecy. But it doesn't necessarily mean that Jews will be in charge. Okay, does that make sense, guys? Okay, so it's a much more complicated idea than people think it is. All right, so where do we get this stupid idea from? Okay, it actually starts with Isaac Newton. So Isaac Newton, you learn about him in physics class, you learn that he's the founder of calculus, you learn about Newtonian mechanics, okay? But actually, these are just side projects of his. That was not his focus. He spent most of his life focusing on reading the Bible to understand the grand plan of God. And he wrote a book called Observations upon the Prophecy of Daniel and the Apocalypse of St. John, okay? That's where his focus was. And he believed he found the Bible code. And he was a member of secret societies. He was a member of the British elite. And if someone like Isaac Newton is telling you, like, this is what the Bible says, and this guy who found a calculus and who developed the 3 laws of motion, you'll probably believe him.
Bring down the Libyan government, Muammar Gaddafi, in the fall of, the war started in March 2011. And he and Hillary Clinton, his Secretary of State, said Assad must go in the spring of 2011. I remember scratching my head at the time saying, oh, that's interesting. How are they going to do that? Syria was a normal functioning country at the time, despite whatever you read, whatever propaganda is said. Syria was a normal functioning country. I recently dredged out a report by the International Monetary Fund on Syria in 2009 that praised the Syrian government for its reforms and its rapid economic growth and looked forward to continued years of economic development. In other words, it was not this wasteland or this battlefield. It was an actual normal country.
Was it a threat to the United States?
It was no threat to the United States whatsoever, but it was deemed to be by Netanyahu a threat to Israel because of a simple reason, which is that Netanyahu wants to control all of Palestine, wants to rule over the Palestinian people, does not want a Palestinian state. And that has led to militant opposition. That's led to Hamas, that's led to Hezbollah, that's led to other groups. Netanyahu's theory is, well, we're never going to allow a Palestinian state, so we have to bring down any government that supports those militant groups against us, because our core aim is Greater Israel.
Why would you be willing to go through all of that to get Gaza? Why do they want it?
Well, the Zionists from the beginning have wanted a greater Israel. And David Ben-Gurion wrote a piece in 1918, and David Ben-Gurion, of course, is the founding father of Israel.
Yes.
Wrote a piece in 1918. I don't think it's ever been published in English. It's just in Yiddish, where he describes what his goals are for a greater Israel, right? And it obviously includes Green Line Israel, Gaza, the West Bank. It includes parts of the East Bank. It includes parts of southern Syria. It includes parts of southern Lebanon, and it includes the Sinai Peninsula. Just think about that. That was Ben-Gurion's vision. And this was a vision that was shared by almost all the early Zionist leaders. And there are still many people in Israel who are in favor of a greater Israel. They don't want a tiny Israel. The Israel that was created in 1948 is a tiny state.
Yes.
Even with Gaza and the West Bank, it's quite small. It's a postage stamp-like state, right? They want more territory, and they believe they have a historical right to that territory. Israel has never said, these are our final borders. What are Israel's final borders? They've never been articulated. And the reason is the Israelis don't want to say out loud. The early Zionists did not say out loud what their intentions were. David Ben-Gurion didn't get up on a soapbox and say, we are going to create a greater Israel, and it's going to include southern Lebanon, southern Syria, the occupied territories, Green Line Israel, the Sinai, and so forth and so on.
It's just a little, irony isn't powerful enough a word. I can't think of one. It's odd that the very same people who are saying we need to consider tactical nukes in order to preserve the territorial integrity of the sovereign nation Ukraine, because national borders are sacrosanct, that's our sacred norms are violated when those borders are violated, are saying it's totally okay for this one country to take over other countries.
In my reading of Zionist doctrine, it is not just traditional Judaism. It is very, very particular version of religious doctrine when the Jews, Israeli Jews, or Zionists, better to say, have decided not to wait until Messiah comes, but to replace Messiah, to declare themselves as Messiah. So the Israeli people or Zionists, they think they are God, or they are Messiah, they are messenger of the God themselves. So they don't need any justification of their behavior from any other instance, not to speak about international community. So they behave themselves in their special, very, very heretic, I would say, in the context of Judaism, classical Judaism faith. And normally, Iranian people should follow line of Mahdi, the line of Iranian revolution. So I think that we are now on the intersection of different axes of the end time. That is the end time war, because in the eyes of true believers in Shia, Israel and Zionism is Dajjal. And in the eyes of the Zionists, Shia, Iranian people, Muslim world in general are obstacle for their regional and after that global rule.
A two-state solution, as you are, then you want the Palestinian Authority to be in charge, not only in the West Bank, where they're now in charge, but in Gaza as well. But you want to understand that Benjamin Netanyahu wanted Hamas in charge in Gaza because they don't want a two-state solution.
Yes, I agree.
And he's made it clear to President Trump now that he does not want the Palestinian Authority to take over in Gaza, because his great fear is that will mean movement toward a two-state solution, which he doesn't want. This is the great problem that we face. It's the Israelis, more than anything, who are opposed to a two-state solution.
And you don't think a change of leadership in Israel could have any impact on that?
Well, it's widely believed in the West, as you know, that the problem here is Benjamin Netanyahu. And if only we can get rid of Benjamin Netanyahu, then enlightened Israelis will come to power and will live happily ever after. This is not true. Benjamin Netanyahu gets elected time after time because his views reflect the views of most Israelis. And I believe that no matter who is driving the train in Israel, he or she will be committed to cleansing both the West Bank and Gaza. They want a greater Israel that has almost all Jews and no Palestinians.
Did you know Israel has never fully defined its borders? Most countries have maps showing exactly where their sovereignty begins and where it ends, but Israel doesn't. Israel's borders with Egypt and Jordan were first set as armistice lines after the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, then formalized through peace treaties in 1979 and 1994. But its borders with Lebanon, Syria, Gaza, and the West Bank remain undefined and unrecognized. Even within Israel itself, no official map shows agreed-upon national boundaries. That ambiguity isn't a mistake, because as long as Israel's borders are not set in stone, they can keep expanding. This is the story of a borderless project, the Zionist vision of Greater Israel and what it means not just for Palestinians, but for the entire region. For more than a century, Zionist leaders have pushed for the establishment of Greater Israel, a state of Israel that would stretch far beyond the territory it controls today. In the late 1800s, well before Israel was established, early Zionist leaders convened to debate their visions for a Jewish state. First, there's Theodor Herzl, a Zionist founder from Vienna who's often called the father of modern Zionism. He envisioned the borders of this future Jewish state running all the way from the Euphrates in Iraq to the Nile in Egypt. Then there's Russian-born Zev Jabotinsky, the ideological forebear of Netanyahu's Likud party. He imagined Israeli sovereignty on both sides of the Jordan River. In 1947, Zionist leaders accepted the UN partition plan that proposed dividing Palestine into two separate states, one Palestinian and the other Jewish. But it was a tactical move. David Ben-Gurion, Israel's first prime minister, made clear that this was just a first step toward eventually gaining control of all of what he envisioned as Greater Israel. His strategy was to secure international recognition for part of the land first, then build military power to take the rest by force. And that's exactly what happened. In 1948, Israel expanded far beyond the UN partition lines during the Nakba, when Zionist militias violently expelled over 750,000 Palestinians from their homes and destroyed or depopulated over 400 Palestinian towns and villages. In 1967, Israel seized the West Bank, Gaza, the Golan Heights, and the Sinai. It only eventually returned the Sinai to Egypt after Egyptian forces retook the territory during the War of 1973. Ever since then, Israel has continued expanding its territory throughout the West Bank by establishing facts on the ground, settlements, outposts, and military zones that have proven impossible to reverse despite being illegal under international law. The population of Israeli settlers in the West Bank and East Jerusalem has skyrocketed from just a couple thousand in 1967 to over 800,000 today, with the past year seeing the largest expansion of Israeli settlements to date. For a long time, despite Israel's gradual expansion, most Israeli leaders distanced themselves from Greater Israel proclamations, at least publicly, as to not provoke neighboring Arab countries they sought to normalize relations with. But more radical settler groups like Gush Emonim, a messianic settler movement founded in the 1970s, never abandoned the Greater Israel vision and continued to tie the expansion of Israeli settlement to religious destiny. Their efforts helped fuel the rapidly growing settler movement we see entrenching its control in the West Bank as we speak.
This is the promise of God to the patriarchs of the Jewish nation. It's 3,000 kilometers. It's almost as big as the Sahara Desert.
So this is the biblical Israel. Yes. Can I call it? Yeah. So and this is so which countries are these?
Which country? Don't mention.
And today, Greater Israel can no longer be disregarded as a fringe idea. Israel's current government is considered to be the most far-right in Israeli history, led by extremist ministers like Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich, who are making territorial expansion a core component in their political platforms. Even Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has begun openly embracing it, recently calling the project a historic and spiritual mission.
אז אתה שואל אם אני מרגיש שאני בשליחות היסטורית ורוחנית, התשובה היא כן.
It's a statement with huge implications, not just for Palestinians, but for the whole region. Israeli soldiers have been spotted wearing Greater Israel patches as they commit genocide in Gaza, and Israeli leaders are calling for the ethnic cleansing of Gaza's entire population to be replaced by Israeli settlers. Some Israelis have gone as far as openly invoking Nazi Germany's Lebensraum doctrine, land conquest for living space, to push for settlement expansion into areas Israel's occupying in southern Lebanon and Syria. In the West Bank, Israel's government recently approved construction of new settlements that would effectively divide the West Bank in two and prevent the establishment of a contiguous, viable future Palestinian state. Because Israel has never officially defined all of its borders, each war, land grab, and bombing campaign has the potential to redraw the map of Israeli control in the long term. Each new fact on the ground inches Israel closer to its ultimate goal of returning Greater Israel into a reality. And each time the world averts its gaze and lets Israel get away with violating its neighbor's sovereignty, Israel's leaders get more emboldened. History shows us that expansionist powers won't stop unless they're forced to.
Because I think Israel is not just a state. Israel is a project. It's a settler colonial project. And I do think that we are witnessing the beginning of the end of this project, because it rests on three pillars. One is material, of course, and there I agree. I mean, when you use an index that looks at sustainability of state according to their material capability, Israel is doing well. And as you mentioned in your introductory remarks, it does well mainly because of the United States. So this is a condition that can change. The second pillar is the social coherence of the settler society. And we know that this coherence is non-existent anymore. There is a bit of an optic illusion because of the Hamas operation on the 7th of October that created a sense of unity, but it's not going to cover up for the fragmentation of the society that we have seen until the 7th of October. It seems that coherence that is based on social coherence, that is based on hatred of the Arabs or the Palestinians, and doesn't have very much anything else in common, is not very sustainable. And more importantly than anything else, of course, there is the legitimacy pillar, Israel enjoys the legitimacy of Western governments or governments in the global north, and therefore there is a sense that it can still be sustainable because of that support of the elites. But it has lost the support of the civil societies. And this is why probably it's the only state in the world that lobbies for its existence, not for its policies, not for its better economic performance, but for its very moral justification, and it's losing that battle. Just a caveat, as an historian I can tell you that when projects like settler colonialism are reaching their last phase, unfortunately this can be quite a long period. It doesn't happen in 1 day or 2 days. And the problem is, of course, that they become more brutal and ruthless.
Israel's objective is Greater Israel. That is what they have wanted from the beginning for over 100 years. What does that mean? It means Israel is not content with their current territory. They're not even content with their current territory plus the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, or even plus the West Bank, Gaza Strip, the Sinai, and the Golan Heights. Israel wants all the land from the Nile River in Egypt to the Euphrates River in Iraq. They want all this territory. They want living space. They want what was promised to them. They want an empire. They want a kingdom in the Middle East, like King Solomon, like King David. This is what they want. And in order to achieve this, they have to neutralize any country that could oppose them. And 70 years ago, that was Egypt and Syria. And then in the 1980s, that was Iraq. And now it's Iran. And they're going to topple the Iranian regime, as they did in Syria, as they did elsewhere, and they're going to install a pro-Israel government that they can control, and then they'll dominate the region. And then they can pave the way for a third temple, Greater Israel, all this stuff. And they know they need Trump to do it.
Islam's only a problem for us because of Israel. Israel is the problem, the project to create a Greater Israel at the expense of the Muslims and Christians of the region. And so, yeah, of course, it's the agenda of the Likud to try and Harris obviously acting as at least their de facto agent. His job is to lie to and manipulate Americans to get them to hate and fear Muslims so that the U.S. government will have an easier time helping the Israelis murder Palestinians and steal their property. That's what it's all about.